Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chris. It's your boy Chris. It's another amazing episode of Financipation. This channel is all about making money. It's all about saving money. It's all about building generational wealth, and it's all about financially emancipating yourself from generational poverty. So today, guys, we are going to be introducing one of my mentors, one of my friends, OG. Basically, this gentleman is one of the ones who kind of got me to start thinking in the terms of, okay, Chris, corporate America is cool, your engineering degree is cool, but you really need to start seriously focusing on your side hustles, on your e-products. And I think you got the gift to do YouTube. You really should consider getting into that. This gentleman right here was one of those type of dudes. And I'm telling you right now, everybody, when it comes to the whole generational wealth thing, nobody gets here alone. And you are going to meet people along the way who are going to push you to pretty much become a better version of yourself. Mike, I know you're a really humble guy. I know you're not. I know basically you don't want me saying this kind of stuff. But it's true, bro. Met this guy at a wind down Wednesday in Orlando or whatever, was talking to him, and literally it in a positive way kind of got me to start thinking very differently about everything in life. So Mike, I was glued to you. I am seriously looking forward to this interview, man. Seriously.
Man, look, the honor goes both ways, man. I definitely admire a lot that you're doing as well, man. So
Yep. So with that, let's get started. Let's get started. I want to jump right into this and be very respectful of your time. So let's start at the beginning. Describe Mike when you were in high school. Who were you in high school, middle school? Who were you in college? Describe yourself: athlete, scholar, hustler, all of the above. Who are you? I guess growing up.
I mean, so that's, definitely a lot to grab there. In high school, I went to a really small high school down in South Florida. I think my parents sent me there to keep me out of trouble. I dabbled in sports, but I was really that guy that was more into like the little hustles. So at the time, many listeners may not understand this concept, but I was the guy that was burning I was the community CD burner.
Napster.
I was burning everyone's CDs. I was installing systems in their car. This is in high school. And I was the guy that was fixing people's computer. If I couldn't get it fixed within an hour, I was reformatting everything and reinstalling whatever operating system was on this. And that was me. I didn't even go to my prom because I wanted to work. So I was definitely the hustler versus the school guy.
Bro, you didn't go to your prom, man?
I didn't go to my prom.
Bro, I went to like 5 of them, man. I feel.
Yeah, nope. I've never been to a prom.
Got you. Nah, so you were the guy, Napster, CDs, burning. You were that guy.
So my parents, I think my parents were worried about me because, I mean, I would have all types of random people showing up at my door, like, "Hey, you got my stuff?" "Yeah, I got it." And I'm giving envelopes that I put, CDs in, and my mom didn't know what the hell it was. So she was just like, "You know what? I'm trusting that this boy is not doing something that he shouldn't
not
be
pushing no work. Yeah. It's funny, man. I sold candy in high school, and I made so much money selling candy. I had like actual dudes selling, like they were my teammates, the guys I played ball with. But I had dudes that basically were selling illegal or whatever narcotics, basically directly next to me when I was selling candy. That's basically that was my grind. So when I would have the security guys at school stop me, I open up my bag, show them my Jolly Ranch Reese's Pieces, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, Blow Pop, Skittles, all that kind of stuff. They're like, "Okay, Chris, you cool." So from one, I actually bought my first car selling candy. From one hustler to another, bro. I respect the grind. Yep.
Man.
So I obviously know, but for my listeners and everybody who's out here listening, what was your vocation, Mike? Education? Where did you work? Go to school, college, and all that kind of stuff, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. So and I'll tell you my little backstory about school, because I think it's relevant to some of the stuff we'll be discussing. So I was in high school, had all intention on graduating. I really didn't have a roadmap to college though. I was very fortunate that my neighbor, he was 6'8". What was he, 6? He was like 6'8", 6'9", very tall. And he didn't have a car at the time. So he said, "Mike, can you take me to this college fair? I want to play ball." And I was like, "All right, cool." Took him to a college fair. And this was down in Miami. At the time, it was Miami-Dade Community College. And he's doing his thing. And this guy walks up to me, this black dude walks up to me. He goes, "Hey, you here for the college fair? And I was like, I mean, I guess I'm graduating. And he was like, what do you like to do? And I told him cars, CDs, and computers. And so I was so ignorant to the concept of anything past high school. When he said, have you considered engineering? My response was, man, I'm not trying to drive no trains, man. I thought engineers drove trains.
Elijah McCoy, huh?
Yeah, he laughed and he was like, I want your address, phone number, and everything. So a couple months later, we got a piece of mail asking if I would like to participate in the UCF minority engineering program for graduating seniors. It was a summer thing. And when my mom asked me, like, would you like to go? My response was literally, whatever. I was that casual about going to college. But when I got up here, I definitely am fortunate to have some people, that kind of took me under their wings. So at UCF, I initially came in as computer engineering, then couldn't get an internship, changed it to mechanical, got an internship, didn't like it, then changed it to electrical, graduated with an electrical engineering degree, got a chance to work for some really cool organizations, NASA, Department of Defense, Lockheed Martin, a couple of times. And so my vocation was within engineering. What I do now is a little bit different, but no, it's a lot different. But that was my original vocation, was within engineering.
Got you. So Department of Defense, NASA, Lockheed, from one Mechie to another, that's pretty dope. You went from to Mechie to electrical. That's not easy because we kind of just diagrammatically mechanical. We like to see what we're doing. Electrical guys, you guys to think through it. So that's mad respect right there.
Man, I was just focused on finishing, to be honest with you, man. I was one of those collegiate hustlers. I was just trying to finish.
Got you. Nah, I love it though. I love it. Quick story about DoD, NASA, and Lockheed. What was it like, I guess, from that experience working? Because those are pretty legit. All three of those are like legit companies. You could literally spend a 40-year career at every company. So what were they like, I guess? Just a quick little brief thing. What was it like working for the Department of Defense, NASA, and Lockheed, I guess?
I think the most fulfilling position I had was the Department of Defense. I think I got the most experience there that I think is pertinent to what I do now. I had the opportunity to interface with, admirals, generals, and my overall responsibility was to be that engineer that provided oversight to the execution of different very large contracts.
Gotcha.
When I went over to the private sector, I had to, like, when you think of Lockheed being a legit company, it is, but people who work at Lockheed in certain roles, those roles are very, you're working on a screw, and I'm exaggerating here. You're working on a very small piece of a very large project, So, some of the what I believe to be the projects that I worked on, was a very small piece of a very large project. So I felt a little disconnected from the impact that I really wanted to have on certain things or my work. So that's one of the reasons why I kept jumping around. Like, I stayed at the Department of Defense the longest, but whenever I went to Lockheed, I was literally only there for about a year and a half at a time. And I just kept hopping. Lockheed brought me back I worked at Lockheed 3 times.
Over how many, like over a 9-year period, a 10-year period, a 3-year period, or what was the time?
Over like a 7-year period. Over like a 7-8-year period, like 3 times.
3 times, and she took you back 3 times.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and she'll take you back again.
Sure. You said Lockheed to the private sector back to the government, and then kind of back and forth. So I take it are you still in corporate America, or you bounced?
So I bounced for a while. Most recently, earlier this year, and of course that was in engineering. When I left my engineering career, I was independent for a very long time. My business partner, he's also within the marketing and sales space. And so one day he hit me up and he said, Mike, this company, this marketing automation software company, they're looking for somebody to help them from a sales perspective and a consulting perspective, because they were transforming their sales team. And so I was like, well, I'll have a discussion with them. And it turned out to be a really cool role. So right now I not only run my business, but I also have a consulting position, a solutions consulting position with this marketing automation software company. So it's literally the perfect marriage between what I do and my background. So I get to literally tout business development, sales, marketing, and engineer all within my venture and this consulting role. So it's pretty cool.
And you get to work on your 5 to 9, your entrepreneurial business pretty much still, and you have the corporate America side of stuff as a consultant.
Yeah, well, and I'm fortunate. The timing is good too. So, so whenever someone thinks of, you know, having a, like you've probably heard the quote, you know, a 9 to 5 will, oh man, I forgot that part. I always forget the 9 to 5 part, but the 5 to 9 will basically, like, you know,
9 to 5 is a job, 5 to 9 is a career, or something like that.
Exactly. Like, yeah, something around that. And I totally forgot the quote because I stopped with the 9 to 5 bashing, for a couple of reasons, and I'll talk about that. But for years, I've been this sort of like rat in a wheel. Like, I got really good at selling myself, got really good at getting people to spend or to invest in something that I could render for them. And while it's a great skill to have, it can run you ragged, you know. So what I started to do is I started to create some modularity in my business so that I don't have to spend 40 hours on one project. I can create something that they can consume, and I can sort of quality control it or quality check it, or even follow up with some additional value so that it merits them investing a certain amount into the help that they needed, you know? So instead of, you know, kind of, you know, just an example, instead of having a contract where I'm walking people through some type of organic marketing campaign development, I just sell them a course on it. If you need help, you know, click this button and we could schedule some time. But it's not like oh my gosh, we're signing a contract and now I need to be working with you on executing. I sat down, created a framework, execute it. Let me know if you have questions.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons to that. When it comes to email marketing, you want to learn email marketing? Awesome. Get my course. Let me know if you have any questions. Social media marketing, advertising, prospecting is really where I do the most. Prospecting. You have any questions? Hit me up. You know, but that enables me to see people consume my offerings throughout the day, but I know that I don't owe them anything between, you know, certain hours.
Got you. So you automated, essentially, when you used to do things, it was 40 hours a week. It takes this amount of time to do this. Now you say, okay, buy my course. My course walks you through it. Have a nice day. I'll reach out to you at a certain time period. That's kind of more or less how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Got you. I was listening to a podcast from another gentleman, and he said that the same amount of energy it takes you to make $40 million is the same amount of energy it takes you to make $40,000. He says it's all about automation and setting systems that kind of run themselves. And how did you like get on the, because I know you obviously very well, Mike, but how did you get on the like the e-product? Okay, this is the system I need to run. This is the kind of modular thing I need to build. Like, what kind of led you toward doing that, I guess? And what are the pros and cons? These are the pros and cons. What are the pros and cons as well? I
mean, yeah, I started to take on clients. And I started to see their revenue, and that got me into it. I mean, and I also started to see like what risk was involved. So the way that I was operating, the risk was that I could have wasted time. When I started to work with clients on selling programs and digital products, it really opened my eyes to a lot of things. So, and without disclosing, I don't normally like disclose company names, but I worked with this client, you know, fitness client, and they had a $300 offering and a $500 offering. And my role was to, you know, create a pipeline to be able to effectively sell and to market and, you know, basically create, at the time, everyone wasn't calling it funnels, but essentially create their funnel and their follow-up sequence. I saw what needed to be done. I wasn't really aware of what the opportunity was until I started to pull triggers on the campaigns that I designed. And then I started to see, like, dang, today we made $3,000. Dang, today we made $5,000. Once I got to the point where I started to see, dang, we made $10,000 today. That's when my mind about products started to really shift. Were there a percentage of them that started to ask for refunds? Yes, that's with any business. But just seeing what the net was, the fact that there was not a lot of overhead to be able to carry out these type of businesses really drew me. I worked with another client, and the same thing happened. Well, not in that magnitude, but something very similar. They were rendering services, and we were generating like 7,000-8,000 just for recording some videos and creating some checklists and some activity sheets.
And this is a fitness, these are fitness programs.
Well, one was fitness and one was within insurance.
Got you.
So one was within insurance, and I started to see that this could be applied. I mean, I had one client hit me up. Well, at the time she was a prospect. She hit me up and she was like, Mike, I need to make my course. And I was like, well, where did this newfound energy come from? Last month you weren't even trying to. She was like, listen, my boyfriend broke up with me. So I'm like, I'm confused on why that's applicable to this. And so she was like, well, he left his laptop open. And so in my head, I'm like, you can just imagine where my head is. I'm like, oh man, this dude done left. But what she told me was, she was like, Mike, he left his laptop open. This boy bought a course on how to break up with your girlfriend without breaking her heart. He spent $200 on this course. The two guys that made the course, they made $1.4 million within the span of a year. I mean, so mind you,
how to break up with your girlfriend? Wow.
How to break up with your girlfriend without breaking it. I mean, so again, like, but if you just think about that for a second, right? People have problems that they're experiencing, and you market to them the right solution in a way that would make them think that there's something that may be desirable on the other end of it. They let go of the money in exchange for it, you know. Gotcha. So that's what really drew me in.
So find a problem, figure out a solution, create a program for it, and then figure out how to sell it to the masses.
Yes, and I can expound on that. Find a problem, ask a community about the problem, have them tell them why it's a huge problem to you, to them, make the solution, incorporating all of their feedback, and then find 5 million of them. I mean, there's a gentleman by the name of Ramit Sethi, and he had a course that I bought, and he was talking about, like, let's say you're a wedding planner and you want to sell brides on planning the wedding. Don't try to create a solution and then find people to buy the problem or buy the solution. Ask a bunch of people who just experienced the problem about their experience. So find a bunch of women who just got married. Ask them questions like, what were you most scared of? What are some of the things that you can, like, what was going through your mind the day of the wedding? What are some of the things that your wedding planner did right? What are some of the things they did wrong? Ask the people who just experienced the gain or the loss questions, and they're gonna pour into your arsenal of your marketing arsenal. You then take their feedback and you turn around and find the people who didn't get married yet, and you say, well, you know what? A lot of people were very scared that the flowers weren't going to get there on time, or that things weren't going to get coordinated, and the timing of the ceremony and the reception wasn't going to be right, and the food was going to be cold by the time it made it to people's table. Now, all of a sudden, that person who hasn't been married yet, they're like, oh my gosh, you've read my mind. How can I buy from you? And the mediums that we can use to get this information is infinite now. So
tell me about it. Gosh, yeah, Mike, I think we're going to be doing some, I'm going to be reaching out to you about some of these e-products and everything that you have. In particular, for those who don't know, I do have a fitness program as well. In addition to doing Financipation, I love essentially staying in shape And it's amazing to me how a person walks, talks, and thinks differently when they take their shirt off and they like what they see. So fitness to me kind of somewhat of a ministry in that you can literally change the entire way a man or a woman thinks about themselves when they enjoy how they look. So I'm gonna be reaching out to you, Mike, about some of those
Love
fitness,
it.
okay? Because
I love it. I love it.
that's pretty dope. You said pros and cons to the business. Though I just got to hearing about the pros, and I'm blown away with that. What would be some of the cons? I guess to what you were talking about earlier. What would be some of the cons of it as far as selling mass e-products and things of that nature?
So I'll mention another client I had. This particular client was very aggressive in their sales. They sold to a lot of the wrong people. They wrong people. They sold to a lot of people who have a high propensity of picking up the phone, calling their credit card company and saying, I don't know what this charge is. They were reaching out to their audience was full of people who did not have a lot of integrity. And there's people out there that's like that, you know. And so what happens in those instances is because it's not a tangible thing that you're sending people, it is easier for people to pick up the phone and dispute charges. If you don't have the infrastructure set up, then those are losses. So I've had clients who, because of that, they've had, if you have a certain amount of chargebacks, there are processors, payment processors that will ban you. You can't if you get a certain amount of chargebacks, let's say on PayPal, you can't use PayPal anymore, right? So now your social security number or your EIN cannot be used on these platforms. That's not a good thing.
No.
You know, it could be Stripe, Square, PayPal, all of them. When you sign that, those terms of use, and those agreements, embedded within those agreements, there are conditions that say, if we think that you're doing anything or we see activity that we need to investigate, we can turn your account off. I've actually had, this was when I first started out, I had landed one of my first like larger clients, and I had a relatively large transaction made. Because I was only transacting at the time, like, you know, 500 here, 600 there, you know, 400 there, 700 there. I had one transaction that was 10,000. They paused my account. I could not touch that money for like, I think like 60 days. I couldn't touch it because in their head, they were like, we just need to make sure that this is legit, you know? So they held on to it for like 60 days before I was able to then withdraw and use that money. I'm fortunate that I didn't have to use that to pay for any like overhead or anything, but you know, those are some of the cons from a payment standpoint. When it comes to creating information products, I think a lot of people get stuck in this wheel of perfection. Like they think that things have to be perfect, so they never create anything. I have a ton of clients right now. Well, no, I have a ton of prospects, people who I'm waiting to work with, who are in this cycle where they're just like, Mike, I'm just waiting for the right time. I'm just waiting for the right time. And you know, that's a con, because a lot of times, you know, the right time is really now. You just need to launch it in phases, you know. But you know, some people, they don't want to launch something unless it's absolutely perfect, you know.
What do you call it? Analysis by paralysis, right?
Analysis by paralysis. And yeah, there's a lot of people paralyzed out here.
Yeah, I know that when I kind of first started getting into YouTube and some of the e-products that I sell and things of that nature, it was kind of the same thing. I was like, okay, I can't do it for this, this, and this. And then one day my wife was just like, dude, just do it. Just seriously, Chris, just do it. And see what kind of reaction you got and that you get. So yeah, to all my listeners out there, I mean, sometimes people literally, I think the best story I've ever heard about what an entrepreneur is a person who essentially jumps off of a perfectly good airplane, and they figure out how to build a parachute on the way down. It's seriously that. It's just kind of figuring out, okay, I think enough of what I'm doing. I'm going to figure the rest out, but let me make this plunge and do it the right way, I guess. So, and then figure out along the way. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, and that's definitely true. I think like when it comes to entrepreneurship, like there's definitely a narrative around entrepreneurship where people see it as being this big jump, this big plunge, this big leap. Um, and I think the definition of that leap is what determines whether or not someone is successful or not, and how they view it. So that's really the reason why, um, when you quit your job, when you leave a job, and your venture is what is going to carry you, you view it very differently. There's a metaphor. Have you ever heard the metaphor about the rabbit and the rabbit and the fox?
I have not. No.
So the rabbit and the fox, just physically, they have very similar capabilities, but the rabbit's faster. And you may ask, well, why is the rabbit faster? The reason the rabbit's faster is because the rabbit and foxes run for very different reasons. The rabbit runs for his life. The fox runs for dinner. So when someone says, oh yeah, I got a side hustle and I just, whatever, that whatever isn't paying the mortgage. That whatever might not be feeding those two kids. It's a very, and that's why, like, I made a post that I got a ton of kickback for, around how people with children think and how just people who just worry about themselves think. I'll tell you now, if it was just me, the type of person I am, if it was just me, if I have $10 in my account, I could say, yo, you know what? I got to make $100. I know I got to take a shower. I'll go to LA Fitness. I know I got to have some place to sleep. I got my car. I could survive, right? I could survive. But when you have kids
and a wife,
that's a very different circumstance, right? So now your mind thinks
like 2 weeks. Yeah, tell that to your wife or your girl. See what she said.
Right, exactly. Like your mind is very different. Like if I'm not making this amount, I'm in trouble, and this amount is not low, because in your head. So, again, I say all that because, like, how people think and how they react to that whole leap is different if it's, them quitting their job, or if it's just a side thing.
Yeah, I feel you. I lived in the hood essentially to pay off my student loans, get salary out of my life. And there, I took my wife actually to where I lived when I was in Philly, and she was just like, start locking the doors. So I was just like, yeah, babe, what's wrong? You wouldn't have took me back then? So yeah, I heard gunshots. I saw a copy shot kind of directly across the day. It was just crazy in any event. Wow. But yeah, you're right. When you have a family, you have kids, there's no way in the world I would let my son live in that environment now, and my wife wouldn't tolerate it either. So it's a little different. You mentioned something though, Mike. How do you know when it is time to cut those golden handcuffs? If you're making $85, $90, $150,000 a year in corporate America, you got your house, you got the nice car, you got the beautiful wife, you got the kids, or maybe you just balling, doing your own thing as a bachelor. How do you know, but you get this great idea, how do you know when it's time to quote unquote cut those golden handcuffs and leave corporate America? Because that's the fear that a lot of people have.
Yeah. So I'll be honest. I did it wrong. I did some stuff wrong. I didn't do things perfectly, but now, hindsight 2020, I definitely would have done things differently. My thought around, which is a very common thought, and again, I speak to hundreds of solopreneurs and entrepreneurs throughout the year, and what I normally hear gives me an indication of how they perceive money. If someone's making, like, let's say 80,000 at their job, and they're let's say averaging, $6,500 per paycheck after taxes, they're only taking about, $5,000. They literally tell me, like, oh yeah, to quit my job, I need $5,000. And I'm like, yeah, no. You don't need $5,000. You need a lot more than that. For a couple reasons. First reason is, of course, you still need to pay taxes. Second, and I encourage a lot of my new entrepreneurs, do not fall into this whole watching these reels around people writing off all their taxes like writing off all their income, and they're like, yeah, this is how you pay no taxes. Cool. You choose not to pay no taxes. Let's see if you get approved for that mortgage, where they look at what your income is, and they're like, oh, your business made 400,000, but your personal income was zero. Yeah. You're not getting that mortgage. So don't listen to the hype. The United States knows how to get their money.
Oh yes.
So when it comes to taking the leap, or when to take the leap, I normally say it's good to take the leap when you have two things. You have a plan, and you have some form of progress. If you're operating as a business, there's two types of, I would say, businesses, right? That would characterize you as either an entrepreneur or a business owner. So I'm going to say that again. There's two types of businesses. One business will characterize you as an entrepreneur, and the other will characterize you as like a self-employed individual.
You work for the business that you own. You work in the business. You work in the business and not on it, essentially.
You work in the business. That's what I did. So I was developing websites, running marketing campaigns, and it was, hey, I'm working and I'm making like 90 grand at the time. It was cool. Am I confident I can generate that type of income building websites? If I'm selling a website for $1,000 and I'm able to sell 3 a week, 2 a week, yeah, right? So it's easy to replace that. Is it sustainable? I sustained it for years, but is it something that I could see myself doing in my 50s and my 60s? No, right? Is it something that I could create margin to? No. Is it something that I can sell? No, not the way that I was operating. That I was not an entrepreneur. I was self-employed. The entrepreneur comes up with an idea. They start a business. They plan enough to be able to find what resources are needed for the business to thrive. They get 3 or 4 people to validate that business would be viable or be capable of being acquired for a certain amount. That person can become a millionaire within a year. If you can get 3 validated investors to say, hey, that business, based off of what your plan, based off of the research you did, I would buy your business for $2 million. Another investor says, I would buy your business for 2.4. Another business would say, you know what? If you provided me with this information, I would buy your business for 3. You are now a millionaire because you possess something that has a verified and validated worth of over $1 million. Very different than the self-employed person.
Got you. So let me ask you this, Mike. You familiar with the book, The Power of Broke by Damon John?
I am familiar with it. I did not read it though.
Got you. So in that book, he talks about different ways you can make your money. And Damon John grew up pretty much in the bricks or whatever. He grew up in NY, he grew up in New York City. And he's not a fan of angel investors. It's kind of weird because he's on Shark Tank now. That's what he does for a living. That's what we know him for anyway. But he's not a fan of getting investors to start to invest into your business because his mind, if you have a baby, whenever you get an investor, you sell a portion of your soul and a portion of your baby to that investor. So he's like, so power broke that thing. He started off very poor, started off very at the bottom and worked your way to the top. That way you can start a business with no debt. So when you say getting investors, are you pushing more of the idea that when you start a business, you should have investors, or you kind of more of the power broke concept where you're like, I'm just going to start this business, get a client, get 2 clients, get 3 clients, get 400 clients, 500 clients, and work myself up that way and have no debt. What's your take on that, Mike, as a successful business owner?
I mean, while I definitely respect Damon John. I do respect him. I do see that some of the things that he's written and some of the things that he said is very Dave Ramsey-ish. So and there's contradictions. In today's age, in society today, when you have an idea, a lot of it is based off of speed. It's based off of speed and execution. We don't have the time to bootstrap good ideas any longer. You have to work extremely hard to bootstrap good ideas nowadays. When it comes to like an example, right? When people go on Shark Tank, they don't get an investor because they need the money, because finding money is too easy.
Right.
They get investors because they need access and proximity. This particular investor, yeah, they can give me, 60 grand, but they also, their fiance is the regional vice president of CNBC, right? I could find 40,000 somewhere else, but this investor over here has a ton of media connections. Yeah, I could find 10 grand, but this investor right here can introduce me to David, who is the sole supplier of one material that I would need in order to make sure that no one else can infringe on my intellectual property, right? Like those are strategic moves that entrepreneurs make. They don't get investors for the money. They get it because there's other resources that need to be leveraged to ensure that they protect their business. Like it's very difficult to bootstrap something yourself and protect it.
Gotcha.
It's critical for you to leverage things.
I'll use a Game of Thrones analogy. Like, instead of trying to build your own army or whatever, you basically join House Lannister, you basically join House Stark, and then that way you build a bigger empire much faster.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'll look at it.
I mean, even though everybody dies, I'll tell you this, that show, that's the wrong show. I can't stand. I got so hurt. Game of Thrones is one of those shows that I think Game of Thrones is one of those shows. I think that was the first example or the first instance where a producer was like, you don't know who the hell is gonna live past this episode, and it threw me off. I'll be honest, it threw me off.
Ned Stark, I was like, whoa, this is a different kind of show. Cool. Hey, everybody, by the way, please hit that like button. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps the algorithm. I thoroughly enjoy giving you guys free content. Okay. Yeah, I like that analogy though, Mike, that you said. It's kind of like they join not necessarily for the money. They join it so they can figure out, okay, how am I gonna get my product in Walmart? How am I gonna get my product in Target? How am I gonna get my product right in front of you? And it's definitely easier to do that to some extent if you have an investor. So that's a good one. And by the way, everybody, please check out that book, Power Broke by Damon John. Yeah, I do agree. There are some things he said that I absolutely will never agree with, just period. I'm gonna keep it a buck. But it's a good book. And I think that some of the concepts he pushes in are very good. So, yep, that Mike, let's keep it moving. I want to be respectful of your time. You mentioned earlier, you're not the type that badmouths or belittles corporate America. I know a lot of entrepreneurs, consultants, they call it the corporate plantation. They use very derogatory words to describe being in corporate America. And I guess, what are some skills, Mike, that you learned from being a corporate American employee that's kind of helped you in your role, A, as a consultant right now, but B, also when you went off and did work completely 100% for yourself?
I mean, I think just as a blanket response to that, I think everybody should just educate themselves on money. Everybody should just educate themselves on money. Money's a tool. Money's a tool, and the tools are the aim is to use and exercise the tool. So there are plenty of people right now, like John, who has a 9-to-5 job, who has been consistently investing or putting money into a self-funded tax deferred account. John, who utilized his employment status to get a loan that enabled him to acquire something that possesses far more value than what was purchased. John is in a better financial situation. Even if John makes $5,000 a month, John is in a better financial situation than Ken, who is making 10 grand as a freelancer, writing off everything on his taxes, has no mortgage, and can't get a mortgage because in the eyes of our society, this doctrine that we live in from a country, we cannot be trusted because that freelancer cannot freelance anymore, right? So I think just overall, I think from a money standpoint, we need to just everybody needs to get very savvy with understanding what type of instrument money is, so that it's not a matter of like escaping a 9 to 5. I mean, I was so heavy in the 9 to 5 escape. I have a shirt. I can show it to you. It says I help people quit jobs. Like I've worn this shirt out, and I've had people ask me, can you step over here for a second at their job? I had a woman from Walgreens. She was like, can we talk for a second?
She asked you for your number.
I mean, I help people quit jobs.
Yeah.
And I've heard all the acronyms. JOB stands for just over broke. Yeah. But what I've also seen, being on both sides of the fence, what I've also seen is I've seen the person quit the job, not have discipline, and I've seen the person go broke. I've seen people lose everything. I've seen people not have the leverage that comes with the infrastructure that this society created for us. I've seen people not have health benefits when they really needed it. I've seen people not have, they have no money in any type of account outside of their primary checking account. That is a very dangerous situation to be in this country.
That is,
but at the same time, and just to expound on that just for a moment, I've also seen the person who carried over the thing they hated at their job to their entrepreneurial venture. One thing that I tell a lot of people when it comes to like 9 to 5 and 5 to 9s, I tell people, don't pursue entrepreneurship to escape accountability. A lot of people don't like their jobs because they don't like accountability. They don't like someone asking them, where's the report? Hey, what'd you do this week? What's going on? What's up? Hey, did you perform? What's going on? Like, did you write that response? They don't like that. But then on the other side, when you're an entrepreneur, you better be capable of doing that to yourself. Because if you're not, you're going to go broke.
Absolutely.
I've seen people go dead broke because they did not have accountability and they lacked discipline, which was something they didn't have to worry about at a job where they could get lost in the crowd.
Yeah. It's interesting because I find a lot of people, I guess Instagram, social media, Facebook, it's cool to belittle people who get up every day, put their pants on and go to a 9 to 5 job. And it's really interesting because me and you, we come from the engineering world, and the average mechanical engineer right now comes out of college with a bachelor's degree making $85,000 a year. That's across the board. The average architectural engineer comes out of college or whatever, making $100,000 a year. The average actuarial mathematician makes over $150,000 a year. And when you factor in the fact that when you're in corporate America, you're around men who are married, you're around women who are married, they can help you with your relationships. You basically just kind of osmosis figure out, okay, if my company is matching $5,000 that I put into my Roth IRA, I put into my 401k every year. And this is basically, if I put $5,000 in on Valentine's Day, I'm gonna get $10,000 back Christmas Day. Why would I not do that? I can't tell you how many quote unquote entrepreneurs that I've met who basically don't understand the concept that when you work in corporate America, if your company matches the 401k, that's literally free money. Or like you said, I met people who make $120,000, $150,000 a year for their businesses, but they have a serious medical issue and all their money is wiped out because in America, you're literally one health emergency away from bankruptcy. And that's the reality of the country that we live in. I don't belittle entrepreneurs. I don't belittle 9 to 5ers. I'm in both worlds. I personally think, Mike, we need to aspire to do what you're doing, which is you have your own business. You're getting paid very well at that, I'm sure. And you also have the corporate America people basically paying your health insurance and all that kind of stuff. So that's a happy medium.
It's a nice. Well, I know the majority of people don't fall into that circumstance. I would not have and I have a lot of conviction around. This is one thing that I will have a lot of conviction around. we have a certain amount of energy that we're capable of expending throughout the day. I'm very opposed to people doing it to things they don't enjoy or they don't wish to do. I'm fortunate. Would I have a 9 to 5 right now if it wasn't fully aligned with my interests and aspirations? No. No. I was not looking for a job. This actually was an opportunity. So I say that to say this: when it comes to people, whether it's around career or it's what you do all day, it's really important to have a certain level of self-awareness and self-accountability and just acknowledgement of self. Anyone who doesn't self-audit themselves to say, hey, what do I love? What do I like? What feeds me? What gives me energy? If you can't answer those questions and you choose not to pursue the answer to those questions, then you're choosing to be in golden handcuffs. There are people who are at jobs who are not in golden handcuffs. The doctor who loves being a surgeon is not in golden handcuffs. The engineer who loves architecting is not in golden handcuffs. That individual cannot do that by themselves. The person who loves law.
The teacher who loves to teach.
Yeah, the teacher they need to be in an organization that enables them to do that, right? But the person who is working as a clerk and they're miserable and they're choosing not to identify what gives them energy, they've created self-developed golden, like they've created their own golden handcuffs.
That's like first world bondage in a will, if you will.
Yes, it is, and it doesn't serve them. It doesn't serve anyone, you know. So and unfortunately, there are a lot of people that's in that circumstance, and they choose not to get out of it.
Yep, definitely. I love what I do. I build some of the coolest structures and systems in the world. I can't even tell my listeners what some of the buildings I've worked on they are. And I agree with you. When I finish a project, nothing is cooler than flying into a city and saying, "Yep, I built that." I mean, literally.
I can imagine.
I've literally sailed around. I've sailed on cruise ships with my family, and I pointed out different things that I've worked on, depending on the cities that we're reporting out of and we're cruising out of, and that's an amazing feeling. I mean, I love that. And I agree with you. Just because anyone who's listening, just because a person's in corporate America does not mean they are, quote unquote, in bondage or in golden handcuffs. It's not the way that it is. Just because a person, what I've also noticed, is an entrepreneur, that does not necessarily mean they're rich, and it does not necessarily mean that they're happy. I've seen
right.
So, yep.
Right. No, absolutely right.
You mentioned, Mike, that you sell a lot of e-products. On any given time, how many e-products do you sell? How many things do you kind of have cooking in the fire per person? If there was a Mike website, how many products could they buy directly from you, I guess, at any given time?
So what I normally do, and I do this on sort of it's a weird flow. So I have one e-product around email marketing, one around prospecting, and I have one around organic sales. What I do, my strategy, or my ability to manage the sale of these products along with my ability to support them, has been, I put out videos and I get a lot of people that say, hey Mike, I need help with something. I schedule what's called a reach and revenue growth session, or reach and revenue building session. There is an investment for that session. So that session is between $200 to $300. That is for us to have a discussion, for us to basically talk like this for about an hour to an hour and a half. So I still get compensated for my time. After that session, I then have the ability to recommend one of my products. Gotcha. So I don't do what most people do, which is like they're literally straight advertising their products. I like to see who's going to be investing in their own development, and then recommend one of the products that I would feel is most fit to what they need. After I recommend that, the investment that they made for that initial reach and revenue session goes directly towards the investment that they'll be making for the course. So it is literally, it's like you getting your brakes checked for $100, and then the total project is coming up to $300. The $100 goes towards the $300 product.
Yeah.
Now I will say that I have slowed down a little bit with regards to like how much I'm taking on for a couple of reasons. But overall, you know, I definitely have a couple. I normally have about 5-6 clients at a time throughout the course of, you know, a week, a month. And I just kind of cycle through and I rotate based off of my workload. So there are some clients that I have right now. I'm working with them in a capacity around them being acquired. So my return on investment is going to come about based off of that success. So it's not a matter of me making money through the courses. It's a matter of me investing in them so that if their company does get bought for $40 million, you know, I get a nice payout, you know? So I have 4 ventures right now where I have a conditional equitable interest in the actual company, and I spend time making sure that they're good.
Dope. Amazing. I've interviewed a decent amount of decade millionaires on this podcast, and I always like to improve their bottom line. If a person wants to get in touch with you, how would they do that? Because I'm not gonna lie, me and you are gonna have a conversation offline about different things I'm thinking about doing. And if a person wants to get in touch with you so that you can basically help their bottom line, how would they do that, I guess?
I mean, so across all of my social platforms, there's normally a link to get to my scheduler, and it is or you can just go directly to reachandrevenue.com. reachandrevenue.com. You can also access all of my contact information from
Reach A&D and
A&D. Yeah, A&D. reachandrevenue.com. And you can also hit me up, Mike Felix, MikeFelix, MikeFelix.com. Yeah, those would be the main ways to get in contact with me. There's not going to be a phone number to call or anything like that. Of course, you got my number, but you know, there's not a phone number to call. It's literally schedule,
I don't want no
message,
talkers or nothing,
messenger. That's really it. So
dope.
Yeah, and one thing that I'm a huge advocate of, anybody who has questions about, you know, the growth of their business or anything like that, I'm actually very available to just provide feedback. You know, so what I normally do, and I'm sure you've seen some of the methods I've been using. I use this tool where I'm able to get in front of a camera and I record a 1-2 minute video and I send it to people. So even when I'm prospecting, I'm recording a video and I'm sending it to people, and it helps me. It enables me to say 1,000 words within a minute. You know, if I look at someone's business and I have feedback on their pricing, feedback on their campaigns, I can't tell you how many clients I've gotten. Like, I've gotten so many clients just from looking at their ads, and I'm like, they should not be doing this. Like, and I'll send a message, hey, what's going on? If you're open to me sending you a video, would love to send you a video on how I can, you know, help you with optimizing your campaigns. Their response is yes. Video leads to reach and revenue session. Reach and revenue session leads to the opportunity to consume one of my courses. And so that's literally my pipeline.
Hey, and apparently it's working quite well.
Very simple, low risk. I don't deal with I don't have chargebacks. I don't have a ton of you know, craziness in my business. But it is, again, I want to say this. I still more so characterize myself as being more self-employed than entrepreneurial.
I love it.
I think the most entrepreneurial thing I've done is co-founding Black Orlando Tech.
That's a dope. I think I've been to 1 or 2 of them. That's dope.
Yeah, we're doing some amazing things within Black Orlando Tech. We've raised a ton of money. We've been doing a ton of programming, but that is literally thinking through, creating a vision, building a team, building community, identifying an ecosystem, investing in it, finding other people to invest in it, and watching it grow. Most entrepreneurial thing I think I've ever done. My ability to generate revenue, that's definitely more so on me being more self-employed.
Dope. Bro, I wrote up like 50 questions. I'm not asking any of them because this conversation has been so good. Let me keep going down the list. By the way, everybody, check out the Black Orlando Tech. I'm seeing just from from the reviews I read about it and some of the things that I've seen on social media. If you're in the Orlando area, definitely fly down there, go to Disney World, but check that out too. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. As Black American men, Mike, both of us were told to essentially make good grades, take out a lot of student loans, go to college, get that good job, work in corporate America for 50 years. There's nothing wrong with that concept if you kind of want to think about it, I guess, on the surface level of it. But what are your thoughts on that concept, I guess? School, lots of debt, work for the same company, and just fly away in corporate America.
I mean, I think it was the only thing to be told to us. When you think about what someone can be told, I think, what else could have been told, right? Like, it's really, you're always going to have that minority.
Yeah.
So if I can tell 500 people the same thing and all of them listen, is that going to serve the broader society? If the answer is yes, then that's what I'm going to tell them. So yeah, I was told, go to school, get good grades, and do all that. Now, when you really think through what that means, though, it just means, one, obey, do what you're told, and fit into the pattern, fit into the platform. I was on another podcast, and I gave what I would consider to be the true definition of school. The true definition of school is nothing more than a framework where you're giving a set of deadlines. You're given a set of deadlines. You gave me your homework because I told you exactly when to give it to me. You studied for your test because I told you exactly when it was. You got excited about commencement or the end of schooling because I told you exactly when it was. So there was a framework that it's nothing but a bunch of little deadlines, and so it forced us to consume what we needed to learn what we had to. When you take that away, though, then what do you have? You have freedom. I'll be honest, freedom is scary. So you have to have discipline when you have freedom. The majority of people don't have discipline because discipline sometimes can be conditional. Too many people wake up on one side of the bed, and that makes them operate totally differently than if they wake up on the other side of the bed. They wake up happy one day, they're inspired. They wake up unhappy the next day, they're uninspired. They're not doing anything. School takes all of that away. Or framework takes all of that away. So I understand that. The employment part, working for one job for 50 years, that's the part that is like, I'm not a fan of working for a single company for 50 years. I don't think anybody should.
The era is over.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody should. It's not even just about your reward. It's just about your experience. When one scary thing about industries like Lockheed Martin or the defense industry is, and I've seen it happen. I saw it happen when I was at NASA. I spoke to this older engineer, and I was like, well, what do you do? And he was like, oh, well, I work on umbilicals. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So you work on, the cables that connect to the shuttle. And that was his specialty. And he worked on that for 20, 30 years. Now, electrical engineer working on umbilicals, when they stop using those type of umbilicals, where do you go? What do you do? Now, that is how you secure job in one way, but it's also how you create what's known as job liability. If you're working on one particular specialty for years and that's all you know, once that's not needed any longer, you're not needed any longer. So when you work for a company too long and you don't diversify your experience, I think it's a very dangerous place to be.
I agree. Corporate America has a lot of benefits. They say the typical person who works in corporate America, you get a 4 to 5% pay raise every year. So let's say 4.5% pay raise, or whatever every year. If you leave a company, on average, you get a 20 to 25% pay raise.
Right.
As a result, people just kind of do the math. When you get to a point in corporate, if you're not learning, if you're not being challenged, if they're not talking about moving you to a C-suite status and you should be there, if they're not talking about giving you equity, and or if you're just not happy, at some point, kind of look around and see, I guess, where you should go or what you should do. All right, I want to keep going because I got some great questions, but I want to respect.
Yeah. No, keep going, man. I'm good.
All right, let's go here. I like this one. I'm a reader, Mike. I like to read. I think readers are leaders, and I think more of our people who share our reflection need to read books. So this is a financial channel, but what are 3 books you would advise my listeners, 3 or 4 books you would advise my listeners to read?
Good question. Good question. Of course, I love sales. So there's this book called To Sell is Human. To Sell is Human by Dan Pink. I really like how he frames sales and the humanity of it. There's a book by Michael Hyatt. Is it Michael Hyatt? Michael Hyatt. It's called Free to Focus. If there's one thing more valuable than real estate, and if there's one thing more valuable than businesses, it's attention. And Free to Focus, I think, is one of those books that has a framework to help people understand how to perceive how they focus and how they view, doing things and completing things throughout their day and throughout their week. So I think that's very valuable. Corporations are paying trillions of dollars for your attention with AT. Trillions of advertising is all about capturing your attention. They're not even reaching in your wallet yet. They want your attention. So your focus is important. There's another book that I really like if you're thinking about like getting into sales and stuff like that. It's called Predictably Irrational. And it's a book that kind of flips rationality on its back. It talks about how, as humans, how we respond to things in an irrational way that should be rational. So a really good book based off of how we make decisions. I think and one of the examples in the book, just to describe this briefly. Let's say you were at a mall, right? You're at a mall and you're trying on this suit, right? And you're trying on the suit, and the suit is, in this store, the suit's $400. So the suit's $400, but the salesperson goes, "Hey, Mike, if you go to Macy's on the other side of the mall, it's only $390, right?" So he tells me it's $390 on the other side of the mall. In my head, I'm like, "No, I'll just take it. It's fine." Now, if I say I just take it, it's fine. That means that my mind processed whether or not it was worth me walking to the other side. Was that time for me to go to the other side of the mall and try this on? Was that worth the $10 or was it not? So the way that we process and make decisions can definitely provide us with a lot of insight into how we sell and what we sell. Right. So that's a really good book. And it's a little deeper philosophically around decision making, but I definitely think it helps with people framing, what they decide to create and how they offer it.
Got you. I love it. I'm gonna check out all 3 of those books. They are going on my to-do list. I'm gonna try to read all 3 of them this week. Readers are leaders, people. The average billionaire reads 52 books a year. The average American reads 1 book a year. So people, that kind of just let you know why certain people are poor, other people are not.
I'm surprised it's one.
I would say first book I'll tell people to read, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've read a lot of books about how to get people to like you, how to get people to think the way you want them to think. That's the best book I've ever read, period, about psychology, as far as, okay, I want this group of individuals to like me. And if you get people to like you, it helps you in everything in regards to your sales, to your dating life, to your personal life, to your professional life. So Jack Bogle, the founder of Vanguard, he wrote a very good book called The Little Book of Common Sense Investing. Great book. Check that out. I actually have a lot of stocks with Jack Bogle. I actually love Vanguard, so that's a good one. I'll say that. I'm gonna get a little more serious on this one. The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. If you're African American and you're not or you're not African American, if you want to read the story and the struggle of this country as far as being a dark-skinned person, read that book. It's going to kind of open your eyes to a lot of things that America wants to avoid. And I'll also Black Faces in White Places by Dr. Randall Pickett. If you are a minority, including if you are a white person working in a primarily dark industry full of Black Americans or full of Black people or full of minorities, that's a phenomenal book because it kind of teaches you how to be the other and how to do extremely well in regards to when you work around people who don't look like you or think like you. So those are some of the books that I'll say. All right, let's keep it moving, Mike, because time is running short. Financial advice. The name of this channel, Financipation. I want you to increase the number of people who are financially literate and decrease generational poverty, increase generational wealth. So what are 3 pieces of financial advice, Mike, you would give people or give my listeners?
3 pieces of advice. Financial advice?
Financial advice. Financial advice. Or it can be good advice that leads to good financial outcomes.
I mean, I think that one big piece of advice that I would say when it comes to finances is to understand the concept of finances, understand what money actually is, and understand why it's important. I think when you start to realize that it is an instrument, I think you perceive it differently. I treated money differently when I thought it was something different. So I definitely think that understanding money is critical, because it's gonna, I like my my girl was talking about, hey, like, I have my money here and I'm looking at these high interest yielding savings accounts, right? Like, if you don't understand how money, why it's valuable sitting in one institution, how they use it, and why you would want to work with one company versus another, then that could potentially impact you in many different ways. I think goals are important when it comes to finances. The reason goals are important is because it allows your subconscious to work. The majority of your mind and your being that does work is not your conscious, it's your subconscious. So when you set goals, most people like, they see them as miracles, but it's really like your subconscious is doing a lot of work while you're sleeping, while you're considering things, to be able to make sure that things are in place to ensure that goal is going to be met. So that's the reason why, like I was just having a discussion with someone earlier today, and they bought a bakery. They bought this venue for a bakery, and they were thinking about how much they wanted to buy the bakery for. And within the span of 3 months, the exact opportunity, or an opportunity for the exact amount that they wanted to allocate towards buying the bakery came about to provide them with the opportunity to buy the bakery. So it's setting goals is key. I think another big thing is just the habits. Most people think that there's some lottery that you're going to win that's going to change your financial posture. It's nothing more than a sequence of little things that you're doing consistently that's going to change your financial situation. They say that your body is a lagging measure of your physical habits. Your mental state is a lagging measurement of your mental habits. Your money and your bank accounts, it's nothing more than a lagging measure of your financial habits. So when you focus on your financial habits, automate as much as possible so you don't have to call it a habit. I think that's definitely going to help out with your financial situation as well.
Dope. I love it. I agree with all of that. If I were to answer this question, I would say the 3 pieces of financial advice I would give you. First and foremost, save more than you spend. Simple as that. If you make $100,000 a year, you're spending $105,000 a year, you're losing money. Simple as that. I call them the 3 pillars. Max them all out. Max out your 401k. Try to put $20,500 into it. Max out your Roth IRA. Try to put $6,000 into it. Max out your HSA account, your health savings account. Try to put $7,200 into it if you're married. If you're single, $3,600 a month. Max out your, I call those the 3 pillars. Max them out. I'll also say this. Try to find the right people to date. As guys, we're gonna do our own thing. We're gonna make our own mistakes. At the end of the day, I know I did. I'll be the first to admit that. But if you can find the right woman and you can build with her, I mean, you can either be LeBron James and you make 3 times more money off the court playing basketball in your profession, or you can be Will Smith. Look at the situation his life has put him in. So, in all seriousness, that's how I'll say that. I got a question from one of my young dudes or whatever. Very impressed with, and he says, I'm a 25-year-old guy and I made over $200,000 last year in my business. I'm getting to the point where I want to start dating, but I didn't grow up with a father. What advice would you give me about dating? Because most of the women that I meet in my world now are only interested in me, I think, because of my money. So Obviously, Mike, you're doing very well for yourself. God has blessed me. I think I'm doing pretty decent. Okay, I'm doing okay as well. But what advice would you have for this guy, or for this young man, I would say?
I mean, the people are going to be attracted to the things they see. So if you made, like, let's say you made $250,000, and they see that, like, that's the resultant of what they're perceiving when they see you, then that's what they're going to be attracted to. If you're somebody that's very involved in the community, or you're very involved in A, B, and C, but they're not seeing the money, then your involvement is what they're going to be attracted to. If you're somebody who has great conversation, you're fun to be around, then that's what they're going to be attracted to. Environment is also key as well. So I don't personally think that it's possible. I don't think that it's possible for people to be attracted to one's money or their wallet unless they're making it known that there's something in it. I don't think that women have this intuition to know, like, oh my God, this guy makes $200,000 a year. I just feel it. No, they're like, he spends a lot and he tells people he makes it, so yeah, I would just say, if you are serious, if you're ready, and again, you mentioned that he's what, 25?
25.
if you are ready, okay, if you're ready, then I would self-assess and self-audit, and I would say, what do I know about myself? How do I feel in certain situations? Who am I? If you can't answer effectively, if you can't not effectively, authentically, if you can't answer authentically who you are and what you love about yourself, then you're not ready yet to be with somebody who you think it would be in the long run. If you are self-auditing yourself and there are elements of you that you believe somebody should be attracted to, that's what you should start exuding, not what they would perceive as a high income earner.
Right. Yeah, I would say don't lead with your wallet, just like Mike said. I think I made the analogy earlier. When I was paying off my student loans, I legit lived in the hood, heard gunshots, had roommates and stuff like that. Even when I started, quote unquote, getting into my career and making more money, I kind of never really got out of that concept to some extent. I wasn't living in the hood anymore, but I never wanted people to kind of have any idea, kind of, okay, what do I make? I never tried to leave with my wallet. To me, I didn't want a gold digger. I was looking for a wife, if you will, when I actually did get serious. I'd also say, and I was not serious about it at 25 either. So kudos to this young man, because I was, I mean, I'd also say find your non-negotiables. Whether it's religion, if you want to marry a Christian, you want to marry a Muslim, if you want to marry a woman who's not religious at all, find your non-negotiables. I love to work out. So for me, a woman that was not into the gym, that was just, to me, a complete and utter non-starter for me to have a serious relationship with them. But that was just me personally. If you want a traditional woman, a traditional wife, a woman who's at home, cooks, cleans, versus, I don't know, whatever, somebody's not traditional at all. Basically, bro, find your non-negotiables and don't compromise on those. I guess that's kind of what I would say to that. So that's what I'll say. And another thing, alimony, welfare, alimony and child support is real. 60 to 40%. So choose wisely. Choose wisely. That's what I'll say about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't.
And also, finish on it. No, I was just gonna say one last thing too about that whole, finding a partner. So there's certain things that I'm grateful for. There's certain things that I'm grateful for. I've had chapters in my life that they weren't written by me. They weren't written by me. They were written through circumstance. They were written through what I thought was just what it should be. But then again, I feel blessed for this. I did get to a point where I started to self-audit myself, and I'm like, who am I? Like what? Like why does this matter to me? Why does that matter to me? And there's certain things in my life that started to be attracted to me, or that I started to attract once I self-audited myself, right? So my girl is literally the epitome of what I am attracted to because of who I believe I am. You know, I love the hell out of her. I watch how she's a leader in the community. She has her own business. She's very self-aware, and a lot of that is based off of, you know, who she is, but at the same time we're attracted to each other because we're aware of who we are, you know. So it's not just a matter of, am I looking for somebody that looks good, or am I trying to find somebody that's, but no, you're going to attract who you are as well, you know. So just make sure that, you know, there's synergies there, because at the end of the day, you know, you're crafting a life for both of you and not just you.
Yep. Definitely. All right, Mike, we are coming to a close, so I have one last question for you, okay? And I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Father, husband, engineer, entrepreneur, legacy-wise, Mike, when God calls you home and your time on earth is past, what do you want your legacy to be?
Legacy. I honestly, I would want my legacy for my family. I would want my legacy to be like, I would want my family to know me as being, you know, not just a hardworking man, but a smart working man. You know, I watched my father work extremely hard. I grew up in a Caribbean household. My dad worked 24 hours a day, and I watched him go from job to job to job in the same day. His legacy to me was a hardworking man who made sure that his family was good. With me, I want my sons and I want my family to see me as, you know, hardworking by default, but smart working as well. I want to leave more than just, you know, financial. I want to have more than a financial legacy, or I want to leave more than just financial, but I also want to leave something that's more spiritual as well. There's an energy that I would want to leave this earth with, that would get people to think that it is not difficult. It's not mentally difficult or physically difficult to do things. A lot of it is more so based off of a more so simple decision being made, and then everything else will follow. You know, I've seen it happen within me, within my clients. I would also want my community to feel that there was something left, that, you know, can move us 1 or 2 steps closer to what we would consider to be a better life. You know, I've started a number of organizations here in Central Florida, even outside of the tech. I've worked within. I've started, you know, Black, you know, entrepreneurial organizations, and I've had people hit me up after years. They're like, "Hey, there's something you said in a video in 2013 that I still carry on to this day." So I would love for some words that I say in any of my videos, these interviews, which I greatly appreciate this invitation. I hope that these videos and this content and this energy stays
Absolutely
far after I'm gone, and hopefully that stimulates some type of you know, progress in our community.
Absolutely. It's interesting, Mike, because 60% of Black men are in the middle class. 10% of Black men make over $100,000 a year. And statistically speaking, I can put the links below. They say Black men, we are the most involved fathers. So it's interesting because there's a narrative out in the media that they portray about what we are, what we as African-American Black men are. And that image is completely contrary to reality. You don't see guys like me and you on television, and it does not make any sense. Why? Because we are 70% of Black men who are out here. And on top of that, there's also another narrative that wants to try to portray us in a certain way that's just factually inaccurate. financially, as far as the finances that we make, as far as how we take care of our families, as far as the representation that we have in corporate America and as entrepreneurs. I don't see guys like Mike Felix on television. I don't see guys like myself pretty much in that space. And that's one reason, another reason why I wanted to start Financipation, because kids will be what they see. And if they see quote unquote are gangbangers and drug dealers, I've lived in 4 murder capitals. I lived in the quote unquote hood. I did not see that. I mean, you saw 90% of the people who lived there, they were hardworking good men or whatever, and hardworking good women. And the media wants to try to portray us in a certain light. And that's one reason why I started Financipation. I said, no, there are electrical engineers, there are mechanical engineers, there are entrepreneurs, there are people who have their own businesses, there are people who have their own YouTube channels. We're not talking about hip hop or what color such and such a song is this week. And that's why I wanted to start Financipation, because it pushes the correct narrative forward. And that's why I love what you're doing with your businesses as well, Mike. So thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. This is needed. We need more of this exposure, you know? So no, thank you for this platform. This is huge, man. This is huge. Because
together in the future, a lot of it, definitely.
Yeah, no, the media, you know, that's not the agenda of the media, you know. But I will say this, you know, every vehicle needs gas. Every vehicle needs gas, right? So I'm not going to characterize who they are, but they make money. Those media outlets make money from that narrative. You know, so if we naturally click on, you know, black man gets run over by pickup truck, if we're going to click on that faster than black man successfully launches a clothing line, then there's certain things that we still have to make sure that we have to physiologically battle with, right? But we still have to say, hey, you know what, how can we get creative with this platform so that, you know, we can ensure that this message is getting to the right people.
Absolutely. You guys check out my boy Mike Felix, okay? Check him out on his website, www.mikefelix.com. Check him out on his website, reachandrevenue.com. I personally work with this guy on certain businesses, and I'm going to continue doing that for a few of my other businesses as well, to kind of expand my reach and to kind of improve what I do. And this gentleman can take your business literally from 0 to $1 million. He's done that before, people, and no cap. I'm telling it completely like it is. Thank you for this, Mike. We got to do this more often, bro. Next time I'm down in Orlando, we definitely going to link up, okay?
We do, man. We do. I'm actually, because you're in South Florida right now, right?
I'm actually, I'm up in D.C. right now at the moment.
Oh, you're in D.C.? Oh, man. Dang.
I'm at D.C. at the moment. I come down. I mean, all my wife's family's they're all in Florida, though. So I'm there.
Oh, okay.
I'm there a lot, so yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm heading down to South Florida this weekend. So my grandmother turned 100 years old, man.
Congrats.
Crazy.
I wish to God my grandmothers were still alive, but hey.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, Mike, we definitely will link up, brother, next time I'm down in Florida. Once again, everybody, this channel, Financipation, is all about making money. It's all about saving money. It's all about building generational wealth, and it's all about financially emancipating yourself from generational poverty. Please like, please comment, please subscribe, and thanks, Mike. This was a phenomenal interview, and we got to do this more often as black men, as minorities, and just honestly as entrepreneurs, as YouTubers, 9-to-5ers, whatever you want to say. We got to do this more often, because this is the image that I know my cousins, my homies, the dudes I used to hoop with, the guys I used to play ball with, do whatever with. This is what they need to see more of. And the thing about it is there's an appetite for it. I'm telling you, because when I go back to the hood, Chris, how did you get to where you are? Simple.
Yeah. No, definitely, man. You hit me up. Let me know when we want to chop it up. Even if it's casual, man. Let me know, and we could do some recordings and share some of these insights, man, because they need it.
They need it for sure. All right, Mike. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Take it easy, man. Have a good one.
All right, bro. You too. Take care, man.